Welcome to the August 23rd, 2021 meeting of the Sandusky City Commission. First, I'd like to apologize for not having electronics this evening. We're moving slightly backwards due to a hardware issue, and Stuart assures me we will have that repaired hopefully by the next meeting in this room. But for tonight, we have no electronics, which means we have no live stream, and we have no microphones, so we will all speak in a little louder voice, and I'll ask any audience participation.
We are live streaming.
We are live streaming. That is good news. We just don't have our own microphones apparently. Prior to tonight's meeting, we'll have an invocation offered by Commissioner Twine, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, truly I thank you to come before your throne of grace, asking you for wisdom and guidance as we handle this day's business. We always give you the praise, the honor, and the glory. In your name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. President, will you call the roll?
Mr. Brady?
Here.
Mr. Waddington?
Here.
Mr. Poole?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
Ms. Twine?
Here.
Mr. Meiser?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Commissioners, you have before you the minutes of our meeting of August 9th, 2021. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Watt.
I move that we accept the minutes of the August 9th meeting and dispense with the formal reading.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, the motion will be approved. And hearing no objection, that motion is approved. If there is no objection, I am going to slightly divert from our agenda. I know we have several residents from the Cold Creek subdevelopment in our audience tonight, and I know they have an issue they'd like to speak to. And instead of requiring you folks to sit through an hour and a half of meeting that you may or may not be at all interested in, I'm going to move you to the front of the line in the agenda. So I'm going to ask that any residents with any issue, even non-agenda issue, that would like to speak to the commission to step to the podium. Identify yourself for our record and tell us your concern.
My name is Jim Jackson. I live at 519 Cold Creek Boulevard in the Cold Creek subdivision. And the reason all these individuals are here today is because they don't have a true understanding of what the city of Sandusky is planning for our community. We've heard rumors of multi-family housing going in out there, and all these individuals here have invested lots of money in their residency. And we would like some say in what's going to be going on out there in Cold Creek development. Tentatively, we have a meeting scheduled, but I don't know, we may be able to get this in earlier, September 25th with Mr. Holliday. But whatever meeting that we're going to have, I'd like the city commissioners to be there. I'd like Mr. Eric Woopser to be there, because we're truly concerned. I got a call from an individual as I was coming over here today, and he bought a lot out there recently. And he asked me, he says, if they're planning on putting multifamily homes in out there, I won't be building. So that's how serious an issue it is for what the people of Cold Creek are going through right now. As I was going around telling these people to show up at this meeting tonight, they were hitting me with questions that I didn't have the answers to. So we want answers to some of the questions that these individuals have about their community. And that's why we're here today.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. We've had some discussion regarding this issue as early as noon today. Mr. Murray, myself, Mr. Holliday, and Mr. Woopser. And I would like Mr. Holliday or perhaps Mr. Woopser both to share with you what our thoughts are on this, and perhaps hopefully alleviate some of your fears and some of the residents' fears regarding what is or is not going on, and perhaps just dispel some unfounded rumors. Mr. Webster, Mr. Holliday, either of you?
I'm gonna stand here, I may have a rebuttal.
Good evening, Commissioners, and Mr. Jackson and the other residents of Coal Creek. It's great to see you this evening. In terms of the multifamily properties, as City Commission is aware, we did get authorization to market those for sale. We have not received any written offer from anyone interested in purchasing those lots. We have made a commitment that before there is any agreement to sell those, there will be a public process so that the residents can review those plans, hear from directly from any developer that is interested in purchasing those lots, and weigh in with your input on those properties and those plans. We are, however, not fixated on multifamily development at that location, and we are certainly open to other proposals. As some folks may be aware, when the Cold Creek subdivision was proposed and went through the major subdivision planning process, there were a number of properties that were designated for multifamily construction. Those properties were also zoned for multifamily construction. When we brought those to market with HODI, we simply indicated that that is the current zoning, and it is priced accordingly with multifamily development anticipated. But again, nothing's been finalized, nothing's been agreed upon, and we're very much open to the input from the residents. And as Mr. Jackson mentioned, I am working with him to coordinate a meeting with the residents where we can gather further input, and looking forward to getting that set and seeing you all again soon.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. Mr. Webster, you and I and the forums had a good discussion regarding this issue at noon today, and I wonder if you would just share with the residents what you shared with us regarding the history of this property, and I would like to have some assurance that the city is not out there promoting multifamily housing into your development. And I'll let Mr. Webster speak to the history of this.
Absolutely. Through the commission, president of the commission, and the members of the Coal Creek community, including Mr. Jackson, to Director Holliday's point, when we listed this, we were just listing the property as it was currently zoned and it was currently envisioned when the development was created. And at the time that everyone who owns a home there purchased a lot, that was exactly what was in place for the community. We've made no changes at all to the plans that Mr. Rose put into place that were in effect when everyone in that development bought a home. That being said, I don't believe staff has a strong opinion at all as to what the right vision for the property is. We just have to, and we want to hear from the community, which is exactly why we were scheduling the meeting in September, nor are we actively entertaining an offer for multifamily. And if we did receive an offer for it, at that price point, it would actually have to come back to the city commission for approval. So our stance has been that there are many opportunities for the community to be heard, informally in the meeting in September. And not only was I planning on attending, as well as some commissioners and Director Holliday, Mahoney was also going to be there. And in addition to that, any approval for anything that we would want to do would come back before the city commission. So we have heard from Mr. Jackson and others that they want more information as to the current zoning and what the city might accept. And we're very much happy to provide that. We also know that there are some sort of duplex type properties that already exist. And the question is, our question is that something that would be considered multifamily by this group as well? So we're very open to those questions and comments and figuring out what the best plan is for that neighborhood. We've also heard some questions about people buying side lots. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't hear me?
We can't hear you, your back is to us.
Mike's not working.
Sorry, I was thinking like that. So basically what I said, I'll try to quickly recap what I said previously for those who haven't heard, is when we took the property back, we have made no changes whatsoever to what was planned by Mr. Yost or what was in place when all of you bought your houses in the community. This is exactly the subdivision plan that was zoned for and created at the time that the development was created. That being said, we don't have a strong opinion at all as to whether the existing plans should stay September, so that we could hear from the community with Hody at the table as to what folks want to see. And there were several questions that we want to get feedback on. We've heard from some members of the community that they prefer to have side yards or allow their neighbors to have side yards. That's not something that we had envisioned to this point, because the goal is to continue to have single-family housing develop in the community. We prefer to continue to develop the single-family housing that was envisioned, but we do not have a strong opinion as to the multifamily. The questions we did have is, we know there are some side-by-side cluster-type homes that exist in the development. Should some of those be included or not included? But at the end of the day, we just want to reinforce that we haven't touched this plan at all, not one bit. And we're meeting with you so that we can hear from you as to what should happen at the property. But there's no preconceived notions as to what that should be. We just want to have that talk and then figure out where to go from there. So.
Through you.
Sir, if you just come to the podium and identify yourself for the record, we just need to kind of keep track of that.
I'm Dex Alexander, and I live in Coal Creek also. And I hear what you're saying, which is great, don't intend to. What was the original plan or what zone? Was it for multi-purpose, multifamilies?
Joe Yost's original plan, the developer of the property originally intended for there to be multifamily. The city has no plan for the property.
Okay, and the reason why I'm asking that, because I don't want us to listen to what this gentleman said, which he was saying, yes, it's zoned for multifamily,
Yes.
okay? We don't want that, and that's what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
But if we let him say whatever, and then all of a sudden, let's go to this guy, let's go to this person, let's go to this person, then we forget what he said, which it is zoned for multi-purpose, multifamilies.
Yes.
But once again, we have single homes there, and it's a nice development. What happens when we get these multifamily homes? Our value go down.
So, again, we're having a community, through the commission, president of the commission, we're planning a community meeting to talk about just that. Again, I just want to make it clear, we have no strong opinion on whether or not that land should be sold as multifamily or not, but I just want to make it, like, nobody in this room was at the city when that plan was created. Maybe some of the folks were, but that was the plan. When you guys bought your lots and built your houses, it was always the plan. So if you're asking us to change the zoning, that's a conversation that we can consider. But I just want to make it clear, it feels that on some level as if folks think that we're somehow trying to do something that wasn't always the intention of the plan when we bought it, and that's not the case.
Through you, Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
I want to speak to what he just got through saying. I've spoken to a majority of these people that live in Coal Creek. And I found one person, and he did the surveying of the development when it first got in. He was the only individual that I spoke to in the whole development that actually knew that multifamily was part of the plan. When we bought those lots out there, Yost kept all these things from us. We were unaware. Most of these people were shocked when I showed them Yost's plan about multifamily. They were unaware that there were any kind of intentions of building any kind of multifamily homes in that development, and that's why they're so upset.
I understand, Mr. Jackson, and I think Mr. Webster has made it clear, and if he hasn't, I would like to amplify on the fact that we have no intention of turning your neighborhood into a multifamily apartment complex replete with multifamily apartment complexes. We have no finger on the scale here. We simply inherited the project from Mr. Yost, who had that built into your deeds, if, as Mr. Webster stated, if you at some point come to us and ask that the zoning be changed to just single family and eliminate the multifamily, I think that's something that you can do. I think that's something that we will certainly listen. I think what you should take away from tonight is, we're not complicit in turning your neighborhood into a apartment complex development, and we will certainly hear your voices if all you want are single-family housing.
Well, I think that's what the majority, is that what the majority wants?
That's what we want.
That's what they want.
I think you should take away tonight from this commission and from our staff, that that's what we want you to have also, if that's what ultimately your desire is.
That's what our desire is. I think the majority of it, is that right? Yes, that's what they want.
Mr. Chairman, if the rest of the folks have something to say, please come to the podium and say what you have to say. I'd like to hear it.
My name's Chris Elder, I live at 806 Old Mill Place, and the gentleman here was saying that they had it out for bid to, you said for any contractors that took for the, or was gonna do the multifamily homes, correct? You had it out for bid?
The property is currently listed for sale.
For sale. So we could have this meeting in September, and if somebody decides to buy one of them before September, then we might have a meeting. So can we have it held until after the September meeting?
Mr. Holliday, how would the process work as far as the zoning change? If that's what these residents are interested in?
A zoning change will be reviewed by the planning commission, and then a recommendation will be made to this body, city commission.
And
In terms of the meeting in September, nothing will happen before that. If an offer from someone to buy the property were to come forward, our plan was always to bring that to the residents and gather public input on any proposals. You know, I think we're hearing that there's not an interest among the residents right now for anything like that, which.
Yeah, they're talking about putting a road behind my property along my fence where the parking lot would be.
Who's that?
That's according to the old
That's
plan. That's the
by the
old plan.
plan.
You were working off of, you said you were working off of Yost's old plan, so they're only looking at what he had proposed.
And there's a access road coming right next to my fence, and that's where the parking lot's gonna be for each one of the multifamily homes. So, I mean, what does that do to my value of my home? When there's, asphalt behind me.
Mr. Reiser?
I was aware when Mr. Jackson brought this first up a few months ago, so I took a ride out and I thought, and there is some multifamily homes. First of all, I should preface with, I understand when you hear multifamily, that's a premier neighborhood, and say that's a beautiful neighborhood, and the yard and the houses are nice. And I don't blame you for being alarmed with multifamily, but, when I think multifamily, I'm thinking slab on grade, 2 units, like a real cheap, low-income housing, multi-unit. But when I went out there, there were some multi-unit condos right there, looked pretty nice. Is that something that you would be against anymore than? That'd be something we talk about. I mean, we don't want to talk about tonight, but with what we left with the last meeting, what we were talking about it, there was nobody here wanted to put any sort of development in that neighborhood to make it not a premier neighborhood. And the last discussion we had was we would meet with the neighborhood, and actually the city would facilitate even a homeowners association where you could control what went on in the neighborhood, not the city. So
Mr. Woopser and we've had this conversation, and one of the questions I asked him, if you're gonna sell these lots individually, and you're gonna put duplexes or condos in there, how are you gonna control the architectural flow of the community if each individual here and there, helter-skelter, can go build any type of duplex that they wanted to put in there? This isn't, the condos that are out there right now, it was part of a plan.
Yeah.
So if you're selling the lots individually to people, what kind of plan are you gonna have?
Well, so through the commission president, Mr. Jackson, that's exactly what we're trying to say is, everything has been done to the plan, the protections that exist come to some extent from your deed restrictions. And then secondarily, we have always been welcome to a homeowners association that would give you control. The city is not in the business of controlling that, but we have had a lot of pushback as to actually starting a homeowners association from the residents of the neighborhood. But if people want to control the design of their neighbor's property, so again, you're asking us what the plan is. The plan that is in place is the plan that was in place when all of you bought your homes. We have not deviated from that at all, not one bit. And so that is the plan, and there are some protections in our deed restriction. It was always intended that there was gonna be a homeowners association created for that.
that would give you guys all the control in the world as to what you wanna see developed there.
So-
But again, just really quickly, also, I don't believe we intend to sell the non-single family lots without coming back to the city commission, so there's lots of protection, and then we wouldn't sell these out from under the neighborhood without talking to you guys. Like, I personally feel that the neighborhood is worked up about something that was not intended by the community. The development that comes to mind that we've discussed as being potentially good for your neighborhood is because we've seen lots of middle and upper middle class residents who are aging out of their single family historic homes in Sandusky move to the Sanctuary, which is a development near the Plumbrook Golf Course near Huron Township. Those are the types of units that we were looking at because we're missing that sort of senior-friendly upscale place that where people look for. They have to leave the city to find in Perkins Township or Huron Township. What we were envisioning and complementing, I think what Yost was actually envisioning, was that type of development complementing the single-family development in your neighborhood. It was never meant to be this large-scale multifamily apartments that I think have people really concerned, so.
Yeah, a lot of this meant, this should have been, this was, okay? It's no different than when I tell my son, I wanted to give you this, but I couldn't, okay? So that's basically, I'm listening, I'm hearing, yeah, this is what we want you to have, or we want this for you because this is what you want. But this is what we have, and this is what we have to deal with. I would love to feed you lobster, but I can't. I have to give you chicken. That's what I'm hearing. So it's like we're here, we're discussing with you guys what we want, but then when this next meeting come up, it's almost like, you're not gonna have a say. Because to be honest with you, to get everybody together to talk, if Mr. Jackson didn't tell us, we wouldn't have even known. So who is to get in touch with all of us?
My understanding is that Jonathan was in touch with Mr. Jackson about getting a date and a location for a meeting, and that we had a complication getting the Venice Heights School, which is where we wanted to hold the location, which apparently has been resolved now, but that we absolutely were gonna work with the neighborhood once we had the date and the location set to get the word out about it.
Work with the neighborhood how? To let everyone know? Through what method? Because, okay, we're not all here forever. And heaven forbid something happened to Mr. Jackson. How would we know?
I think in the past, we've done mailers or handouts to you guys. I think there's, a relatively good sense of people in the neighborhood. I think a lot of city employees live in the
So
neighborhood.
this is what we should expect.
Yeah, I think you should
Okay.
absolutely expect.
We talked 2 months ago, and if we would have had that meeting 2 months ago, we wouldn't be down there. You could have dispelled all these fears that these individuals had here, but the meeting never came about. A month went by, 2 months went by, no meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Klein.
I think what I'm hearing tonight is that all of you would not be here unless you had some serious concerns about what you're hearing is going on out at Cold Creek. I think the most important thing is that we do need to get a meeting together. We need to make sure that everyone that has an interest in attending that meeting and providing input be part of that meeting. I think there are some important concerns out here. It is unfortunate what Mr. Yost did. The city kind of took over. But again, as also I'm hearing tonight, we don't want to drive what happens out at Cold Creek. You should drive what happens out at Cold Creek. So I think it is very important that we have a meeting and we can discuss all the concerns that all of you have as well as your neighbors, so that we aren't doing anything that goes against what it is that you prefer to have happen out there. So I think we just need to have, I heard something about September 25th. Is that a meeting that is a conflict, or?
Jonathan would know better, the date.
September 25th.
Yeah, I'm available. I've not checked your calendar yet.
I'm sure I can be available.
So,
Yes, ma'am. Are you done?
well, I just want to say, so if we can get that meeting together, So everyone can come, attend, and you get, if your neighbor can't come, you get to input from your neighbor and go to that meeting so we can have a public session to provide input. So we're not going down an avenue that none of you want us to go down.
And let me assure you, as far as getting you to the meeting, if we have to deliver a notice to each door out there, we'll do that. We'll find a way to get you there. We're not gonna do this on the internet and then not have you have access to the internet, or do it on a handbill and not have you access to a handbill. We'll go door to door if we have to, if that's what it takes to get you there. Yes, ma'am.
My name is, take this off. My name is Marva Jackson, and his better half.
We agree.
I just think it's very important, because right now there's some mistrust for the city and what they say and what they do. So I just want to make it very clear. Yes, 2 months ago, we tried to schedule a meeting, and that did not happen. We got some bad information or no information at all. And then, I'll say an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours ago, we were able to schedule the September 25th meeting 2 hours ago. Now, it's been brought up that this meeting is scheduled, but no one said that it just happened 2 hours ago. And that was because we had to call and make some phone calls to individuals, because we were given wrong information that said the school was not available to us. So we called Dr. Saunders, and he said, certainly the school is available for anybody who wants to have a meeting. So now we can have a meeting whenever we want to. Does it have to be September 25th? No. But the city needs to review the people that we are talking to, because you're getting a very bad reputation. We can't trust you. We don't believe what you say. We have to double check the information that we receive. I, for one, double check you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Is there anyone else from Coal Creek that would like to speak?
Hi, I'm Dave Lombardo, my wife Yeti, and I live at 807 Old Mill Place. I have a couple questions. I don't quite understand the agreement that has been set with Hody Enterprises. Are they to market the properties, or develop the properties, or both? Because marketing and development are two completely different things. So is Hody gonna be building on these lots and selling, or are they just simply handling the lots for sale to the public, and then once those lots are sold, they back off and quit?
Mr. Holliday, I'm sure you have the answer to that question.
Yes. Commissioner, Hody has been retained by us at this point simply to market the properties. They're acting as our broker. We have an exclusive listing agreement with them whereby they market the properties, coordinate on the closing, and then receive a brokerage fee. So we have no agreement with them to develop the properties. We realize that Hody is also a developer, but there's no agreement or arrangement or plans in place for them to do that.
And the only way they would become a developer is if they singularly, like anyone else does, purchase the property and build a home.
Right, and before they could do that, they would have to present us with plans, detailed plans, and we would arrange for some neighborhood input, and then bring that to the commission, including the planning commission, for their review. So, many layers of approvals and public process, but there's been no inclination or indication that Hody is interested in doing that. Certainly they've got a great reputation, but at this time, no indication that they're going to be developing the property.
So you indicate that if they did buy the property, they could develop it. Hody Enterprise didn't get to where it's at because they're slouches. They're not. They're business people. They're in business to make money. They're not going to make much money off the sale of these properties. And I would like to see a clause in that agreement that prevents Hody from buying a cluster or multiple lots that they can develop for profit, because they can build whatever they want. So the idea that Hody has more money than all of us put together in this room. So if they wanted to, in one fell swoop, they could come and buy the rest of Cold Creek Boulevard, which is wide open lot down there, take possession of it, develop it, put on it what they want to put on it, multifamily, we talked about that, and there would be no stopping it. So at that point, you know, I think the understanding between the city and Hody needs to be strengthened, and that Hody be either limited in what they can purchase and develop, or completely denied the ability or the right to buy any of the property and put them in marketing mode only.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Ray?
If I may suggest, you might want to follow the law director to explain that any sale of the properties would be subject to the existing zoning limitations. And the owner, just because they own the property.
Can't hear you. I can say what I want to say.
What's that? Well, I was suggesting that you might call on the law director to explain that if Hody's or anyone else purchases the property, they take them subject to the existing zoning. And you can't just change that because you're the owner. That has to go through the whole process of going through the planning commission. They have to approve it, and then this body has to approve it. So it's more complicated than that.
I understand that, but right now it's zoned for multifamily, which it keeps coming back to the multifamily part of the conversation, that if they were to be able to secure the properties under Hody Enterprise, that the whole street could be multifamily because they'd be legal in doing that. It's already zoned for that. And I'm certainly not opposed to a mixed neighborhood, but there's got to be a balance, and somebody has to have their hands on the reins, and it doesn't need to be Hody Enterprise, it needs to be the city.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Poole?
Sir, I understand your concern, but I want to suggest, you know, as Mr. Murray alluded to, that whoever buys a property has to follow the existing law, what's written there. More importantly, there's just, you got a whole cloth come up with a concern about Hody Enterprises that I'm not sure comes from anything. When we look at the projects that the Hodys have done in this community, I don't see them putting their name on anything that's not gonna make your neighborhood significantly better. Now, that's just my opinion about it, but as we sit here at the microphone on TV, suggesting things that could happen, that first of all, legally cannot. More importantly, we're doing business with folks that have proven themselves to be good developers, okay? And so, respect your concerns, don't think it's ever gonna happen,
Right.
and more importantly, perfectly comfortable with what Hodys are doing out there so far, and just not something I'm prepared to do.
Yeah, I think, and that's a very,
I thought that needed to be said on balance, there's no.
that's a very fair statement, right? But I come back to Mrs. Jackson's comment. Right now, no government body is trusted by the citizenry. And unfortunately, you're a government body, and so people are hot under the collar about everything else that's going on in the world. And a part of it is the unknown. We don't know. Nobody's talking to us at that level. So if there were a better line of communication, that trust could be built with the existing residents and those who have bought and are staked out, ready to build. And so I think that's a real important thing. There just needs to be a linking pin between what the city's heartbeat is and what the residents' desires are, and an open line of communication constantly with people who can be trusted. And I'm not saying any of you can't be trusted, but I think that would alleviate a lot of concern, is if somebody would tell us what is happening, what's going on in Hody's mind, what's going on, and we've heard clearly where the city stands, and I appreciate what you said. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brady, just real quickly, through the commission president, I just have a quick question to Jonathan. of the land that is listed, how many lots are listed with single-family zoning, and how many are listed with a multifamily zoning?
There are 40 single-family lots and 4 multifamily lots.
So I
And
just-
of
yeah,
the 40, 8 are already sold or under contract.
And so I just want to make it clear, for the sake of, those 40 lots are not zoned for multifamily, they're zoned only for single family, and that there are actually deep restrictions that are in place that would restrict them from being developed as anything other than a certain type of single family housing. The only lots in question at all are the 4 lots that are currently zoned for multifamily, and I think we've stated, you know, we listed them as was currently intended by the developer, but we're very open, and the process of having this dialogue was to figure out what the community's goals are. We're hearing clearly you prefer single-family homes there. I don't think there's gonna be an issue with looking at what that could be. The whole intent of our conversation was, does single-family mean single-family detached, or could these sort of, like, as I mentioned, for those who are aware of the sanctuary, is there room for that type of development in the community? Because we see that as a missing piece of housing in the city that I don't believe would hold back anybody's property values, but could allow some of you maybe to age in place and stay in the neighborhood. So that was part of the thinking on that. But that was, I just wanted to make sure people understood that those 40 lots, Hody could buy them all tomorrow, and all they could do with that was develop single-family homes with the deed restrictions in place.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Christy Ruffin. I live on Walnut Ridge in Coal Creek. Beautiful neighborhood. I enjoy living there. But I think if you would ask anybody in this room, that, yeah, we would like to have a motion to change that to all single family. So is that something we could do tonight? Can we make a motion for that?
I'm not sure, turn to our law director, I'm not sure that is a motion that this commission can hear or consider, is that?
No, unfortunately, excuse me, the rezoning process has to start with the planning commission. They hold a hearing, they make a recommendation, and then any rezoning would then come before the city commission as that. We cannot unilaterally do that without following the rezoning process here tonight.
And let me assure you that that's not a process to deviate from the direction you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
It just is a legal process that by our charter and law we have to follow.
Yes.
We're going to follow that. I hope what you take away, if you take nothing else away from this meeting tonight, I hope you take away that your voices are important to us, and we're going to hear those voices.
Okay.
And I think we're going to hear them on the 25th of September, and we are not going to sell a piece of property out from under you that's zoned for multifamily housing between now and then.
Okay.
And
That's what we want. We just.
if
we
that,
want
I think you
our
got what you
neighborhood
want,
to stay.
you certainly deserve that.
Yes. Okay, that's what I have.
Mr. Cole?
I have a question of law director. Who is authorized to go to the zoning commission, to planning commission, whoever, to request a change of zoning?
Usually it is.
Now,
either-
usually, who is it? Oh, okay,
Sure.
so I apologize, I shouldn't have.
Sure, so this commission can start a rezoning.
That's
The city, okay.
That's the answer we wanted to hear.
Sure.
Yeah, it needed to be said, because you left these folks with the impression that there's some process that we could not be involved in. And Mr. Chairman, I'm saddened that we reached this point. Before we authorize the sale of these properties, this information was discussed in very brief at commission meeting, without all these folks here. And the very fact that we as a commission took no interest, as has been said multiple times, we're not concerned about how this turns out. Because we showed no interest in this, it had to wait for these folks to storm the doors to do the right thing. There was never any question, when you looked at that plat, that what was decided multiple years ago that would make money for the developer, those properties on the back end that are designed for multifamily, that in today's environment, these folks that are investing the kind of money they are now would have concerns about it. We could have taken that up, held a meeting with them anytime between then and now. And so, this is what's disappointing for me. We could have taken care of this by taking an interest in the outcomes in these folks' neighborhood. And so, that's my speech for tonight. I'm sorry that you had to come in here and do this, but in the future, you probably should watch commission meetings and read some things about what's going on, or this can sneak up on you. I apologize if I've offended you, but that's really what this is about. the machine grinds on and money gets spent where it wants to be, where folks in charge want to spend it, until you find out that it ain't working out for you. And so, hopefully folks will pay attention to what we have going on here. This is important to the entire community. What happens to your neighborhood matters, as do all the other neighborhoods that have nothing to do with you. How we spend your money has long-term impact on whether people decide to come and join you in that neighborhood. So, thank you.
So just to be clear, this is something that you all can take care of? Are we understanding?
I think my understanding is how the process will start, will be with your meeting on September 25th.
Okay.
And we will go above and beyond to invite every resident that owns a piece of property in that neighborhood.
Okay.
And tell them where we're having that meeting, when we're having it, how we're having it.
Mhm.
And let's start the process there, and then if it's the will of your neighborhood, we'll proceed through the planning commission with the change of zoning.
Okay.
That's
I
what
think
you're
that's what
desiring.
we need to be assured.
Yeah, we want, but even when you change it, we'd like this commission, what we like the government of the city of Sandusky to give us a little bit more attention, because could I bring up one gripe here I have
Sure.
with you? If I may? I don't know if I got it now, but you guys already know about this, what I'm getting ready to say. Yeah, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, what you're looking at plans that was presented to the land bank for a purchase of a property and a home to be built. And my gripe is, that's not the house that they built on the property. So my question is, who's watching the store? When they come before the city commission, present a plan to the commissioners through the land bank and say, this is what we're going to build on that lot that you're going to give me for a reduced price. Who is making sure that that's the house they build on the lot? Because that's not the house they build on the lot. They built a ranch on the lot. So, I know you guys have a lot to do, but if we're watching the community, and we just want to make sure that you guys are watching the community too. You're the guys that were voted in place, and some of you are hired to do these jobs, to make sure that things like this don't happen. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. All right, we have a meeting set for the 25th of September, and we will reach out to each homeowner. And we'll start the process there.
Thank you. Uh-oh, we have
One more.
one more.
Yes, ma'am.
One more.
My name is Bonnie Tolson. My husband Victor and I are here. We live at 4215 Ferndale Drive. I understand, this is what we received that was gonna go in there. These are townhomes. These are not, all of a sudden you're saying, oh, we're gonna build nice homes like a sanctuary, but this is what originally we were told. These are townhomes that are cheap to build and don't take a lot of land, and they make a big profit for whoever builds them. And that is so degrading to us, who we put a lot of money into our homes, we maintain our property nice, and what happens to townhomes young people move into them, then they end up buying a house and they become rentals. And I've seen it over and over again happen. They're rentals, and nobody takes care of rentals. And I know because I had rentals and I sold them. No, and it ended up costing me a fortune. And then I have another issue too. Our street is a speed trap. I am tired of, we don't have sidewalks. We have to walk in the street. We have sections of sidewalks, we end up walking in the street. Children ride their bikes in the street. There's scooters in the street. We walk in the street. And these cars fly down that street 40 and 50 miles an hour. And I saw a little boy come out from between parked cars, that's another thing, and cars parked all over. He almost got hit by this truck. And it's terrible. I mean, we got parking on both sides of the street. They come out of Cold Creek, they turn onto Cold Creek here. This is what they do, they turn onto Cold Creek, they go around Ferndale, there's no stop sign, and they just gun it. And they gun it. I followed somebody, and I bet he came in, and we followed him. He went in, and then he came back, and the same thing happens. And they come back, they get to that corner, and there's a stop sign, but there isn't one here. And he just took off again. And there's no stopping these people. I even found out where he lived. And when you have people from door and door driving, 80% of those people, there are 130 homes back there, 130. We have 42. So where's all this traffic coming from? It's coming from them. And you go back in their area, they have stop signs, they have sidewalks, they have no parking. So I think this needs to be addressed before somebody gets killed. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments?
If you want me to, I can probably address
Chief
the
Oliver.
Twofold, I live in Cold Creek, love the neighborhood. We'll do everything we do to keep the neighborhood as clean as we can. Ferndale's got some speeding issues. We try to patrol it as much as we can. There's speeding issues all throughout the city. So I make no excuses. We can't be all places at once, but the officers will be out there. I usually try to handle things on my own most of the time when I'm driving through too. It's not Cold Creek residents. We all know Ferndale's a cut through and it's getting pretty fast, and we'll do all we can to keep people slowing down. So that one's on me. I apologize.
Well, I wish, what I wish you'd do is put one of those speed things in there that clock what they're doing.
We can, we have two of those. One's currently occupied on another street. The speed trailer's just getting the battery. I don't really want to use the speed trailer because we have other avenues of doing it, but we'll look into that. I'll get on the schedule.
I think this is very serious.
I don't disagree with you. We want people to slow down. My kid,
But they're not slowing.
my daughter rides her bike through the neighborhood all day long.
I
So
know, and so it's someday,
yeah,
not gonna be good.
we'll do what we can. So
Thank you, Chief.
just add to it.
Sir,
Chairman,
Commissioner Meisner.
I think we just glossed over one thing that just listening, but it's important to know if you're not familiar with the government of Sandusky, but the zoning commission and the planning commission is made up of city residents, citizens, and when they have their meetings, they're public meetings, and I would encourage you, if you do develop a homeowner association or a group, and want covenants or something, you attend those meetings and you address those two commissions. Well, I mean, we could override their ruling. I think the city commission has the power to override, but that's not done very often. So it'd have to be a pretty strong case. So I'd start at the grassroots, stay together if that's something you feel strongly about. I will warn you though, in a homeowner association, 50% of you are gonna not want the other 50% to have tomato plants in their yard or something. So I just, that's the danger of it. Not trusting government. You just might not. You will be government then.
Mr. Manager, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Murray.
I would just like the law director to weigh in on this issue of a homeowner association. Normally, if a homeowner association is established, it's at the outset when it's platted. It is really hard to impossible to get properties that are already dispersed among different owners to agree to a homeowner association. My recollection is not my area, my recollection is that all homeowners have to buy into that. Otherwise, there is no homeowner association. But it's not something that the planning commission or the city can force.
Right.
It's got to be the residents who adopt it.
Thank you, Mr. Murray.
I gotta speak again now.
Mr. Jackson.
There has been a homeowners association established by Mr. Yost and registered with the state of Ohio. I called the Attorney General to find out about these things. And they gave me some advice on how to reactivate it. But Mr. Yost has had established a homeowners association when he initially started that development.
That may be a good start, certainly. If there are no additional comments regarding this issue, I will allow, thank you residents for showing up and sharing your thoughts with us and allowing you to exit instead of sitting through a rather mundane commission meeting. But you're certainly welcome to stay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. We will turn now to any residents' comments in the audience regarding our agenda items. Any public comments from residents regarding agenda items only? Ms. Presser, are there any? Ms. Presser, are there any emails or letters regarding public comments regarding the agenda?
Mr. President, no, not for the agenda.
Excellent. Commissioners, we have the privilege to be able to swear in 2 new firefighters at tonight's meeting. I will ask Mr. Webster to perform that swearing in.
Jeremy, we can start with you.
Welcome aboard.
Appreciate it, thank you. Great honor.
So do you have a copy of what I do up there? Okay, so I'll ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I'll probably break it into 2 clauses, so the first part you can stop there. I'll stop at disaster, and I'll finish the rest of it from there. So,
Please raise your right hand. I, Jeremy Adams, recognizing my fundamental duty as a firefighter of the City of Sandusky Fire Department, do solemnly swear to uphold the standards of my profession by safeguarding the lives and property of our citizens against the threat of fire and disaster.
I, Jeremy Adams, recognize my fundamental duty as a firefighter of the City of Sandusky Fire Department. I do solemnly swear to uphold the standards of my profession by safeguarding the lives and property of our citizens against the threat of fire and disaster.
I promise to obey the duly constituted laws of the United States, the state of Ohio, and the City of Sandusky, and to accept the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, leadership, and trust to be honored for as long as I remain a firefighter for the City of Sandusky Fire Department. I will continually strive to serve our community and to be an influence for good before my fellow officers and firefighters to the best of my ability, so help me.
I promise to obey the duly constituted laws of the United States of America, the state of Ohio, the City of Sandusky, and accept the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, leadership, and trust to be honored as long as I remain a firefighter for the City of Sandusky Fire Department. I will continually strive to serve our community and be an influence for good before my fellow officers and firefighters to the best of my ability, so help me.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it, thank you, great honor.
Jim, did you want to say anything?
Jeremy, look at that.
Get your good eye on it. Get your hand on there. It's probably thick in there, okay.
there you go. You'll figure it out in the next 25 years.
It is brand new. Fresh off the rack here. There. You can finish. You got it closed. You can tell my mother dressed me as a kid.
Don't wrap it for 3. That's good.
Ashley's gonna start practicing first.
I think I got it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for allowing us to introduce our new additions to the fire department. Jeremy, he's already a firefighter paramedic. He comes from us from Fostoria Fire Department, and he is assigned to number 1 shift under the command of Captain Martin D'Amico. And Ashley Howells, she's a firefighter, EMT. She's currently enrolled in paramedic school at Lorraine Community College. And she'll be finishing that training here this December, so she'll be a paramedic here shortly. And she's assigned to number 2 shift under the command of Captain Matt Lesh. Great. All right. Well, please raise your right hand. Similarly, I'll break this up into 2 questions, and you can repeat after me.
I, Ashley Howells, recognizing my fundamental duty as a firefighter of the City of Sandusky Fire Department, do solemnly swear to uphold the standards of my profession by safeguarding the lives and property of our citizens against the threat of fire and disaster.
I, Ashley Howells, recognizing my fundamental duty as a firefighter of the City of Sandusky Fire Department, do solemnly swear to uphold the standards of my profession by safeguarding the lives and property of our citizens against the threat of fire and disaster.
I promise to obey the duly constituted laws of the United States of America, the state of Ohio, the City of Sandusky, and to accept the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, leadership, and trust to be honored for as long as I remain a firefighter for the City of Sandusky Fire Department. I will continually strive to serve our community and to be an influence for good before my fellow officers and firefighters to the best of my ability, so help me.
I promise to obey the duly constituted laws of the United States of America, the state of Ohio, the City of Sandusky, and to accept the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, leadership, and trust to be honored for as long as I remain a firefighter of the City of Sandusky Fire Department. I will continually strive to serve our community and to be an influence for good before my fellow officers and firefighters to the best of my ability, so help me.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to both of you. You join an elite and distinguished fire department, and I'm sure that you will make us proud. Commissioners, you have before you several communications from staff recommending various legislation. Can I have a motion to accept these communications?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, the motion will be approved. Hearing no objection, that motion is approved. Commissioners, we have 6 consent items on the agenda this evening. Any of you wish to move any of these items to the regular agenda? Ms. Cresser, will you present the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. President, back up for just a minute. Did we do the minutes approval? I missed that. August 9th?
Oh, we did that earlier.
Okay.
Very early.
Sorry. On the consent agenda tonight, we have item A, which is authorization to make payment to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for a submerged lands lease for the Sandusky Sailing Club property. Item B is a first and final change order with Birch Hydro Incorporated for the 2021 wastewater treatment plant digester cleanout project. It is a deduct. Item C is authorization to submit an application to the Ohio Public Works Commission for the Perkins Avenue and 52nd Street resurfacing project. Item D is authorization to submit an application to the Ohio Public Works Commission for the Warren Street reconstruction project. And item E is a liquor permit transfer to Hort's Bar and Grill, 1040 Camp Street. Item F is a new Trex Economic Development liquor permit from Doylestown, Ohio for Tambo Entertainment LLC, doing business as Clubhouse No. 3 Sport Social at 220 East Water Street.
Commissioners, having heard these ordinances, resolutions, and liquor permit hearing requests, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Klein.
I move to accept the consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, and F, and declaring that all ordinances and/or resolutions as drafted and presented to the City Commission under the consent agenda shall take effect in accordance with the section reflected in the ordinances and/or resolutions, whether it be in accordance with section 13 or 14 of the City Charter.
Second. A motion and a second discussion. Without objection, that motion be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved. Ms. Cresser, do we do we should probably do a vote on that?
Roll call, yes.
Roll call on the motion.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Meinzer?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance, resolution, and liquor permit hearings.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Meinzer?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Those ordinances, resolutions, and liquor permit hearings are passed. Now turn to our regular agenda. Ms. Cresser, you present item number 1.
Yes, item number 1 is an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of $7,290,000 in notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of, number 1, revitalizing the Bayfront urban revitalization area by acquiring, clearing, and improving certain properties in that area, undertaking the environmental cleanup and remediation of certain properties in that area, constructing road improvements and related utility and infrastructure improvements in that area, and otherwise improving that area. Number 2, acquiring a ladder truck for the fire department. Number 3, paying the costs of various improvements for the landing as more further described and approved in ordinance number 18-127. Number 4, paying costs associated with the relocation of City Hall, including but not limited to those projects approved by ordinance numbers 18-119, 18-128, and 18-129, and resolution numbers 025-18R. 5, paying costs of various improvements to the Jackson Street Pier, and 6, paying costs of the construction and various improvements to the Sandusky Bay Pathway, and declaring an emergency. And we must accept the fiscal officer's certificate initially.
I'll ask for a motion to accept the fiscal officer's certificate.
So moved.
Second.
Then a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Cresser, we call roll on that motion, please.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Meinzer?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
That motion is passed. Commissioners, having heard ordinance number 1, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner White.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in full accordance with section 14 of the City Charter.
Second.
Then a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Reader, can you give us a brief overview of what exactly we're accomplishing here with all these dollars?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commission President. So this is legislation to authorize a note for our various purpose notes, which is typically an annual project that we do here. Last year in 2020, we issued notes for $8,070,000. They mature on October 1st, 2021. So we will retire $780,000 of that previous note from last year. We are not issuing any new debt. We're paying down $780,000 and rolling this into new notes of $7,290,000, sorry.
Additional comments or questions, Commissioners? Ms. Cresser, you call the roll on the motion, please.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Meinzer?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Meinzer?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Cresser, you present item number 2, please.
Yes, item number 2 is an ordinance approving pay reinstatement to current administrative employees for lost wages in 2020 due to a forced salary reduction caused by the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, authorizing the finance director to expend the necessary funds, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Twine.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Poole.
just a question for the finance director. This fund comes from coronavirus relief fund, correctly? How much of that money have we, do you know how much we've received total up to now we actually have in our hands?
Sure. Through Commission President to Commissioner Poole, we've received $9,045,000 this year.
Okay, and the expectation of the next time we'll receive funds anymore is when?
It should be about this time next year, sometime mid-year 2022.
Okay, fine. If you would, tomorrow sometime, just a list of, start the 9 million and what we've spent already, and just send it to me tomorrow. I appreciate it.
In essence, these dollars that we are passing in this ordinance are paying back our non-bargaining unit employees for having loaned us money, so to speak, during the pandemic. At some negative impact, I'm sure, on themselves. This is an opportunity for us to put these dollars back in their pockets. So I'm certainly supportive of this, and with our thanks to those employees.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
I
Meister.
just refreshed my memory. Did some employees take a reduction in hours in lieu of reduction in pay?
Through Commission President, Commissioner Meiser, yes. Some employees that were making it under $70,000 had the option of taking an additional 5% pay cut, and they received furlough hours. So they received 104 furlough hours with a 5% pay reduction, on top of a mandated 5% pay reduction. So they were actually a 10% pay reduction, with half of it being furlough hours.
Okay, so they won't be reimbursed for furlough hours?
Correct.
Mr. Cressler, you call the roll on the motion, please.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Meiser?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Meiser?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Cressler, you present item number 3, please.
Yes, item number 3 is an ordinance approving a donation agreement with Cedar Point Park LLC relating to certain real property located in the city, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Harris.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Sorry. Is there a motion and a second discussion? Mr. Klein. You lack the ability to show us a great pictorial tonight, don't you?
Yes, I do. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm usually a low talker. But what I have on the screen, I know what was provided in the packet was not very good. Those are more construction drawings. Those are legal documents for transfers, things like that. So I wanted to zoom in a little bit and show exactly what we're looking at here. So as you're aware, this is where the city's lift station is on the east side of Cedar Point Drive along Pike Creek. This is Pike Creek through here. Castaway Bay is down in this area. So what the trail is intended to come through this way. This is an old rail bed, and then it's going to snake through this parking lot, and it's going to come along, it's intended to come along Heron Creek Drive along Hidden Harbor. So what we are doing tonight in this area is we're acquiring land on these 3 parcels that are highlighted here. The first one is on this peninsula. This splash pad and recreation area for the marina would be eliminated, and this was agreed on with Cedar Point. It would then proceed through this parking lot, and like I said, it would snake its way through the parking lot until it made its way back over here to Harbor Parkway. And there's a little piece through here that we need on this small parcel that runs along Harbor Parkway, and then it comes back up and rides along Hidden Harbor. This was the original intent. This was the design that was presented 3 years ago in the plan. So this is what you're seeing, it's flipped the other way. So this is the west side, here's Hidden Harbor, or the east side, here's Hidden Harbor, or Castaway Bay over here. So this is what was intended, and this is the area where the splash pad would have been, or is right now. Moving on, there are additional acquisitions, and these are all easements that we would be getting. This is Heminger Ditch. This is the Knights Inn property right here. The intent in the original design shows the bike path on a boardwalk coming across Heminger Ditch this way and connecting at a node over here at Sports Center. So we needed the easement through this property, and then coming along the road, we needed a temporary easement as it joins Cleveland Road, and we have that buffer. We needed to make sure we were far enough off. So you can see on this document, we have a little bit of a temporary easement through here, and then the node would then come in this way. And on this page, it's off in the distance, but you can kind of see it running through here. Here's where it connects by Sports Center, and then it runs across Heminger Ditch and connects back over towards Cedar Point, or Cleveland Road. So what we're looking at when we're done with this is we have everything that gets us over the water, beyond the water, on both sides, Heminger Ditch and Pike Creek. Now, we're looking at the middle sections, and we're still moving through negotiations with all of those entities. There might be half a dozen to 10 more that we're still going through. Hopefully we can present these as they come, and hopefully they can come quickly. So if anybody had any questions, that's all I have on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Additional comments or questions, Commissioner?
Just one.
Mr. Poole.
The bridge, you talk about the intent. That was the intent. What are we doing?
This is it's not the final design. We are going to have a bridge there. I don't know if it's going to be exactly the arched kind of handrails along the side. I think it's more going to be up and straight up and angled. We don't necessarily know what's going to happen at this area. That's going to be turned back over to Cedar Point, but it is going to be a walled structure on either side of the bridge right through here.
How high does this bridge have to be?
It's high enough to allow all of the boats that use this channel to come through. I can't remember the exact height. It might be 18, 19, 20 feet, somewhere in that range.
20 feet.
But it was to accommodate the boats that do come in and use this area.
Additional comments, Commissioner?
Just one, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Poole.
At some point, for a bicycle path, we need to talk about what it's going to cost to build a bridge. There's an existing bridge already on Cleveland Road. So this is nice and it looks very pretty and all that, but I recognize that it's a short span and without any specs, I'm not sure what the concept is here of cost. I mean, $5-6 million just for a bridge that spans that is difficult for me to be excited about for a small amount of bicycle traffic when I've got, is there someplace down the road before we get all committed to this that we're gonna find out what we're paying for this?
Yeah, I have those numbers in my office. Those were presented when we looked through the plan a couple of years ago about what each section of the path would be. I can certainly pull those up and present those. I do know that bridge that you referenced on Cleveland Road is not bicycle width, and so that whole thing would have to be torn down and reconstructed even if it were to be used.
You mean if you make it I've ridden my bicycle over many times, so it doesn't need to be anymore, to be honest, but just to be clear, it might be nice for whatever you're talking about, that on an official bicycle path, but traversing across that span of water doesn't require another $5-6 million. It really doesn't. Thank you.
Additional comments, Commissioner? Ms. Cresser, you call roll on the motion, please.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Poole?
Yeah.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Meinzer?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Meinzer?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Concludes our regular agenda. We'll turn to our city manager for his report.
Thank you. Thank you, Commission President, audience, and staff.
Something's amplifying me on this, but
I'll start with, we have no donations for tonight, so I'll start with administration. I would like to ask the commission president to establish a fire chief search committee, which is mandated by our charter. The search committee will be comprised of the commission president or his designee, the civil service chairman or their designee, and 3 citizens. It is requested that the commission president announce the committee at the September 13th commission meeting so that the search process can begin.
I will do that, Mr. Webster. On September 13th, I will announce those committee members.
Thank you. Moving on to code compliance, we wanted to welcome back aboard to the city Kevin Yuskevitz. Kevin recently retired from our police department as a sergeant and is joining code compliance on a part-time basis. His experience with living in Sandusky his entire life, having served a distinguished career in law enforcement and knowledge of law enforcement to the cities will be effectively utilized in his new role. For the law department, we'd like to welcome Sarah Schaponi, who joined the city on Wednesday, August 18th as assistant law director upon graduating from the University of Colorado Law School. I do believe we have Sarah in the audience tonight. I don't know if she wants to introduce herself.
Yes, Sarah's here tonight. I can speak on behalf of the law department. We're very excited to get back up to full speed. And she is a native of Cincinnati, and I don't know if you want to add anything, Sarah? Or...
Yes, thank you for letting me be part of the city, and I'm excited to work in the law department.
Welcome.
Thank you.
That backlog now should go down, Mr. Hyde.
Yes,
Right.
we're working through it.
For Public Works, congratulations to Phil Baroni, who's achieved his Class 3 wastewater certification. Also, we want to welcome Kenneth Tremarsh, who has joined the Public Works Department in a Maintenance 2 position. Also, letting folks know the staff works hard, investigating each and every phone call received due to flooding to determine if there's an issue with the public sewer system itself or as a result of an ongoing capital project. If anyone has experienced a backup or flooding problem, please call 419-627-5829 during normal business hours, Monday through Friday between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. or 419-627-5907 after business hours, Monday through Friday and on weekends and holidays. Also, mark your calendars. Our next dump day has been scheduled for Saturday, September 25th, and yard waste drop-off days are scheduled for Saturday, October 9th and Sunday, October 10th. We will share details as the date draws near. And safety funds were not awarded by ODOT to the Meg Street reconstruction project because reviewers felt the project was more of a maintenance project than a safety project. This will not delay the project as other funds through the MPO have previously been secured. For economic development, Jobs Ohio has announced a grant award of $1 million to the Hooperview Building Project through the Vibrant Communities Initiative. The Hooperview project was one of only 4 projects that was selected for funding throughout the entire state from over 40 applications. The city's investment in the project was critical to demonstrating our support in attracting the state investment. Thank you to Jobs Ohio for recognizing the importance of this transformative project. For community development, Nicole Broe started today as the city's new Community Development Programs Administrator. Nicole is a Sandusky resident and a former staff member of the Erie County Regional Planning Commission. Please join me in welcoming Nicole to the city. For the planning department, for 6 weeks starting September 1st, planning will be hosting a neighborhood ice cream social every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. These events will give staff a chance to build community relationships, celebrate the projects that have been completed over the past 5 years, and gather feedback on what residents would like to see in their neighborhood immediately and over the next 5 years. In addition to the Wednesday evening time, there will be a 10 a.m. gathering every Thursday, including refreshments for folks who are not able to attend the previous evening. Donations for the refreshments are being secured. All event dates, locations, and details can be found at cityofsandusky.com/neighborhoods. Also, 2 informal public meetings have been scheduled to discuss and gather public feedback on the potential addition of transient occupancy overlay districts in 2 neighborhoods. All are welcome to attend one or both events, which will be held at 6:30 p.m. in the fire station classroom at 600 West Market Street. Both meetings will discuss transient rental regulation in general in the city. In addition, the September 20th meeting will discuss a potential overlay near Lions Park, and the October 4th meeting will discuss a potential overlay near McDonough Street on the west side of downtown. And those are at the request of applicants that are looking to do those types of investments in that neighborhood. Sticking with planning, the next Arts and Culture Commission meeting is scheduled for the 21st at 5:15 p.m. of September. The Landmarks Commission meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 15th at 5 p.m. Board of Zoning Appeal is scheduled for Thursday, September 16th at 4:30 p.m. And Planning Commission is scheduled for Wednesday, August 25th at 5 p.m. Finally, for recreation, on August 16th, Sandusky Recreation hosted its inaugural Kids Cruise on the Good Time 1. The recreation program participants that were able to attend the event were treated to a great evening out on Sandusky Bay. Thank you to Joe Lamb and the entire crew of the Good Time for hosting the event, and to Commissioners Blake Harris and Dave Waddington for stopping by and sharing some words of encouragement with these important young people. I want to personally thank Jason and Tondra and Annette and the entire Sandusky Rec team who really worked hard on that, and all of you on the City Commission. It was your grant to the Good Time that allowed for this
the city's boards and commissions for the city to thank them for their service, which can also often be thankless. So again, not only did the grant the city make help to secure the Good Times future in Sandusky, but it has provided additional access for the children of this community as well as those who serve and give up their time freely to make our place a better place. So with that, I conclude my remarks for this evening. Except for if they have a calendar, I gotta get used to this again. Both times, dump day in the Cold Creek meeting? Are you asking?
So, excuse me, I'm sorry. It sounded, I heard September 25th for the meeting with Cold Creek.
Yes.
But you also announced dump day into the times that those.
My guess is we'll have to make sure that we can schedule that so that they can both take place. Dump days are usually in the mornings through the early afternoon. We can probably do a later afternoon meeting, but we'll confirm the ability for everybody who needs to attend both to be able to do both. Is that Saturday? Okay, so just another Saturday. So, all right.
That concludes my remarks for this evening. It's great to have a
Question for the city manager. We now have one less Saturday to enjoy with his family. Question for the city manager, Commissioner.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Poole.
for the phone calls on flooded basements and issues with drainage, could you put together a package that, lists and/or describes all those calls that you get, and let us know so we know what areas of the city and what the department comes up with in terms of whatever the problems are and what we plan to do about it, so that we can make long-term plans budgeting wise to see what we're going to do to fix that.
Absolutely, and through the commission president, Commissioner Poole, I know Aaron's already
Tracking
been
that.
keeping that list, and Aaron, I don't know if you want to say anything tonight or just let me.
We don't have to talk about it, as long as there's a package, so I can look at it and see what's being done. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Next items on the agenda are items of old business. Commissioners, any items of old business? No items of old business. Items of new business. Any items of new business? Mr. Waddington.
I've talked to most of the commissioners the last 2 or 3 days, and I talked to the city manager last week, and we've got some folks that have been helping out the Sandusky community through the COVID area, as far as, and they've had some setbacks. I haven't went to the board meetings or nothing, but I talked to Mr. Webster about this Ogle, Victor Kitchen, and Karen Share. I would like out of the stimulus money to give 10 grand each to them to help them through this fall and going into the holiday season. They've done their share of work. The schools, I'm sure, have done theirs the last couple of years as far as trying to help out and feeding the community. But Mr. Brady, I know you and Mr. Murray, you've worked with us at Karen Share and Victor Kitchen, I believe. And Ogle last winter, we just had the toy drive for her. And when I asked Gail, they were working towards the end of the shift when we did it that morning, she said these will be gone in 2 hours when they get the stuff away. So, we do a lot of stuff, and I know I may get a little beating for this, but a lot of stuff downtown. So I think it's good to get back out and show the residents that we do care. And everybody can't control. I've had a couple people, when I told them about the idea that I had, said, well, why don't they get a job? Or, can't. Well, some people can't get a job. Some people can't work. I don't know all the situations. It's just like if you give money at church, I have no idea where that's going. But I know these folks can take $1 and stretch it into $3 or $4. And Mr. Murray, you've been part of some of this. Maybe you could add on here.
Well, the need is certainly there, and to your point, I just recoil when people say, well, why don't they get a job? I mean, there are people that just cannot work, or they have child care responsibilities, or they're caring for aging parents. It's just it's a lot of different circumstances. And so, no, I think it's a good idea. And if you made a motion, I'll second it.
Yeah, I'd like to make that motion, and then maybe Mr. Brady worked at some of these with the state.
I accept your motion, and I hear a second, so I'll put these comments in under the discussion portion of this motion. And something that resonated with me, Commissioner Waddington, when we did the Christmas gift thing, was, and much to my surprise, is that oftentimes that's the only gift that the child gets is what we're generating on that street corner that day. that's a sad state of affairs for many families. And, you know, I'm thankful that this commission had the will to support saving the good time to the tune of $100,000. That's the kind of will that we need to have with the motion that Mr. Waddington has just offered and Mr. Murray just seconded. If we can spend $100,000 saving the good time, we can sure as heck spend $30,000 feeding hungry people. So I certainly support that. Additional comments, Commissioners? Mr. Cressy, will you call roll on the motion, please?
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Twine? Yes. Mr. Meinzer?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
That motion is passed. Any additional items of new business, Commissioners? Are there any residents that would like to provide a comment of any item affecting city business? Please step to the microphone. Ms. Presser, do you have a written or email comment?
Yes, Mr. President, there was one comment emailed from Sharon Johnson, 1139 Fifth Street. I understand that the city is going to hire a communications manager at $70,000 a year plus. HR has another creative position opening for a diversity and economic opportunity manager. Where is all the money coming from to support these creative positions? Is it coming out of the $8 million grant that was just given to the city?
Thank you, Ms. Presser. Mr. Webster, I'll allow you to communicate to Ms. Johnson how those positions are funded.
Through the commission president to Ms. Johnson, those positions are replacing positions that were in the city's budget pre-COVID-19. We've gone from 253 employees to about 223 employees, I believe, as of Friday. We're kind of in flux because we're hiring some and then we're losing some as they go. But the diversity position in particular is going to pick up some of the work and add additional types of work to what had historically been done by Talent Floor, our neighborhood outreach coordinator, and very much missed individual in the city. So that is replacing that position. And then additional things that Talon did that this position will not are being picked up and shared amongst other staff, including Tom Frisbee and the others in the community development department. So we are planning on adding staff throughout this year and next year. We're thinking now that fully staffed will be slightly less than 253 because we hope to create some efficiencies, and we'll be probably somewhere between 245 and 250 once we kind of end up. But we're doing that slowly, adding staff so that we can monitor the budget as well as we go forward. So you'll see slightly fewer people post-COVID than pre-COVID. We have not created any new positions in the city's budget. These are all backfilling positions that were lost through attrition throughout the last year and a half.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Commissioner Poole.
I think everyone realizes that I actually agree for this time with Mrs. Johnson. I see little value in an economic empowerment diversity officer. This is 1985. There are plenty and many competent, qualified minorities available, whether it be female, African American, LGBTQ. It's a matter of us providing an environment in which they want to work here. And I suggest that that was back in the old days where we always had that guy we can point to as the diversity person that really and truly doesn't have a whole lot of impact other than the person you get to point to when you talk about how hard it is to diversify your workforce. This is old school, and as an African American that grew up and went through this nonsense, I'm not supporting it. Likewise, paying somebody $70,000 a year to maintain our community media page also seems to me to not be a well spent money. When I'm looking at basements that are flooded, we finally hired some firemen. And speaking of diversity, we had an African American fire chief. Couldn't keep him. The concept here, and I had this conversation with an employer in Sandusky today who is having no problem whatsoever with diversity. And the comment essentially was, yeah, you simply offer the job look for the best qualified people, train them, and then retain them. I'm not, I guess it's because I'm old, but I'm no longer interested in these makeshift positions, and as you describe what these people are gonna do, it's not anything specific. There's a bunch of makeshift information, a little bit over here and a little bit of that, and quite frankly, paying somebody $70,000 to manage a Facebook page, I think is criminal when I look at all the things that need to be done in some of the other departments. Thank you.
Let's entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, Commissioner Klein.
I'll keep it brief. I support diversity person being hired. Thank you. I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second?